So. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. A lot of people going haywire, right? For one reason. They found out that Nolan Wales' autopsy, he had trauma to the back of the head and his throat was missing. Like, why would his throat be missing? Sound like and his lungs was missing, so they can't determine if water was the cause of death. But he got trauma to the back of the head, so even if it was water, the trauma to the back of the head and his throat missing alone is eye opening. Now, I want to say this, and again, on my other podcast, I kind of explained everything that Nolan Wales, Xavier, is not a black man. Yes, he looked black. If he is black, because we had no whereabouts of his daddy. We only had whereabouts about his mom and his grandma. And Nolan Wales represent the Filipinos. He's Filipino. He's not black if he is black, because I'm gonna say if you're a black man, you just kind of see it in your genes. It's hard to tell, like it's if you have a drop of black in you, you're considered black. Now his dad could be black. We know his mom stayed in the Filipinos, and we understand that out there it's a lot of sexual immorality going on. You go to the Asian shops, you get a happy ending after a massage. It's a little poor up there, so people do come up there and, they go up there to have a good time. What happened in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Now, with this situation, Nolan Wales' mom, she put up a GoFundMe, right? She put up a GoFundMe. Now, before I get into all this, right? Once again, Nolan Wales, he get a lot of attention, right? Based on the fact we believe he is black. I'm going to repeat myself. Based on the fact we believe he's a black man. Now, what black man do you know that don't represent his black heritage? One thing about being black, a black man, we always stand on, I'm a black man. That's saying something to be proud, right? And other races try to act black. Although we know they not black, they still adopt, our culture, right? It's clear. When you go on Nolan Wales' Instagram page, he's representing the Filipino flag, raised by his mom and his stepdad. Now, I believe Nolan met his stepdad, which is the guy, that's next to him. That's his stepdad. That's not his real dad. I think it's Elmore. I found his real son on Facebook, which is his junior, which I done a podcast about that. If you want that, let me know. I break down a lot of things. So the media coverage that this is getting is based on the fact that he's supposed to be a black man, went on a trip with some white people, left behind on the island. I covered all that, Nolan Wales, he went to the island more than one time. It's not his first time there. How do we know that? His mom said, well, he always go there with his friends, and he'll call and be like, hey, I'm on my way back. So this is a place that he go and people, they're aware of him being out there. He know the area. All this, it's a lot of things in the media that's saying his phone was taken. The fight, he wasn't left behind at the island, but he actually went to a pool party, which is now people saying in the media. He got into an argument, a lot of whatever happened, right? So the thing is, if he was a black man, okay, we don't want someone at another, race doing something to a black man. I know we can kill each other all day, every day, and nothing done about it. When somebody else does it, like the Asian man that unalived the guy, reaching back and for stealing some chips, I guess, whatever. We come to a march, to a standpoint when that happens, right? We know about the Trayvon Martin. We know about Sandra Bland, the George Floyd. We know what's going on, right? That's not the problem, right? The problem is with this case right here, and especially with remember, the news, every time you put a case like this out, is monetized, right? The news, they keep it in the spotlight. They getting monetized for this. Ads, everything. This whole thing, and I'm not saying it's a grift, but it's a grift. Everybody's eating off of it. Everybody is emotional, mad. Now, when you go on Nolan Wells' social media and look through his pictures, all you see is him hanging with white people. Them his homie. Them his boys. Now, they trying to make it to like where one of his friends did something. We seen the argument at the pool. That's me, man. Them his homies, all right? He grew up with them. Now, I'm not saying that won't nobody backdoor you. They will. But, is it usually, white people that will backdoor you? He's not, and I'm sure he indicated to his friends that he's not black. Right? I want to be clear. He's not black. According to him, according to his mother, she celebrate Filipino holidays and cook their food and just go on her she got a page, a memorial page that she has. Just go on there and check it out. Now, you saying, okay, where you going with it, buddy? Okay. Let me get down to the nitty gritty. Is she's grieving? Of course. Someone lose a son, of course you're gonna grieve. I'm not gonna, and I know that's his stepdad. He raised him, he raised him from a pup. I say around his the Facebook page of the Elmore, right, goes back to 2011, and in that 2011, 2012, you can see where he has his son, Elmore Jr., right? Now, Nolan was caught in one of them pictures at around 7 or 8 years old, when they were taking a family trip, which I also put on my other page, my podcast. So we understand, like, from that age to this age, you got about 11 years in. So, yeah, he does care about Nolan, He raised him from a child to a man, And so he should grieve. My little brother was raised by my stepdad. My little brother was unalive at the age of 15. And he was raised from, I think my stepdad came in around, I was 6? So my brother was 5. So about the same much time, 10, 11 years, right? So I get it, and you get a real bond. We love our stepdad, and it was a real bond. A lot of trust, a lot of discipline. So I do, respect and commend Elmore for stepping in to that father figure. I just want to say, but that was not his real father, right? And if it was, Nolan's last name would have been named after Elmore. It wouldn't been Wells, so we know his mom got Wells / her married name. So she taking on her last name and her new marriage name, right? So we understand that. So the problem is, this GoFundMe. This is really what we're talking about. Now, as you can see on the screen, first of all, let's say this: the GoFundMe originally started at 11,000. That was the original GoFundMe. On my last video, I said it was 60. What I said? What I say was it 60,000? I believe 65,000. That's what I accumulated after I watched this other podcast. It was showing to me that it started at $11,000, which is crazy. It went from 11,000 to 66,000, 66 to 215, 215 to I think 350. Then it jumped up, But at this point, it's at 850 grand. So that's why I took the split screenshot at the bottom, so you can see where they raised to 750. Right? They raised to 750. So if you look on the left side, that's what the goal during that time, and that's what the goal was, 750. Look to the right side, it's 850. Now, what are we talking about here? You just gonna let it run up, because originally you said it was just to help bury Nolan, move out the BAM and whatever, go through some stress. Now, I want to go back. Nolan moms, right? Christine Wells is a nurse. She make 137 grand a year. She make more money than you. 137,000 a year. Now keep in mind, Tyler Perry paid for the funeral, so that didn't come out to GoFundMe. And what's that? What's the guy named Kaepernick? He paid for the autopsy. So the mom didn't do no really expense during this, ordeal. She kept all her money. I'm sure she got leave from work, but now she's on a popular campaign trail. She's getting paid for doing these interviews, and now you got Ben Crump coming in. Now Ben Crump coming in, he usually supposed to be for the black people. So by him coming in, you were like, okay, well, we know he represents the black people. Nolan must be black. No, Nolan's not black, right? Unless the mom related some information that we don't know about to Ben Crump. We know he's supposed to be for an NCAA CP lawyer for the blacks, for race wars type of things. Now you got Al Sharpton. He coming up there with fake words for the funeral. Listen to me. Everybody, because this case is real big, right? When you got a big case like this, now we talking about showmanship. We talking about people want to stand firm, like the Jesse Jacksons used to do. Anytime something happened, if Jesse Jackson lived, Jesse Jackson be up there. Yeah, they come forward with cases like this, to upgrade their status. They don't really care about. I'm not saying they don't give a rat's ass about Nolan, but I'm just saying it's really to put the spotlight on them, right? To put the spotlight on them. That's really what it's about. Al Sharpton coming, and what is this? A political, it's more like a horse and pony show. Now, once I say it again, if I have a GoFundMe and would I let it run up? Yeah. So I'm not mad, I'm not mad at it. My thing is, it looked sort of funny when you start from 11,000, you up to 800, you going up to 850. Now, I did this and I did it in quarters so that, if you go back to my last podcast, and look at the date and you see what the goal was and now, and I'm showing you how the grift work. Now, she's going on all these talk shows, these interviews. They got her dressing like a black lady because if you can look and you see the way in this video here, how she looked, but then you go to the thumbnail and you see how she looked. She done changed her hair, curly, put the glasses on. Now they got her looking like a black lady. She's clearly Filipino. Now, Filipino like black men. I've been through this. I used to like Filipinos. They used to come to, Chicago, and I'm talking about they beautiful, man, but they love black men. They love black men. Reason I believe Nolan Wells' father is black. Now, if Nolan Wells' father is black, then he's black, clearly. All this is not a grift, right? I'm saying as far as his identity. Because she's been with Elmore, we know, based on social media since 2011, and maybe before that. But see, the reason is, and this is the thing, right? He could have been in Nolan's life longer than that. You understand? He could have, right? But we know Nolan not his real child, because any black man that have a son will have a junior. Like I have a junior, That's the thing. I have a junior. The majority of the men, if the mom's not on that, will have a junior. I have a junior. Right? Now, Elmore does have a junior that take his last name. And he could have came in Nolan's life. Shit, Nolan could have been 3 or 4. Because he called him his son. Nolan respect him. The reason why I say it goes back to 2011, the social media, is that's when Facebook first started. That's why I say 2011. I think you can start going live and posting on Facebook around 2011, right? And that's when they started posting. So they was together then, according to that. It could have been before that. I'm just saying for what we had based on when social media was, coming, to a rise, was started in 2011, and that's when they was posting. So he could have been with her since 2006, 2005. We have no idea. He could have raised Nolan from 2 years old on up. So yeah, clearly that's his dad. If he, because you physically don't have a child, with the sperma, with the semen, don't mean that's not your child. Yeah, bloodline, no, it's not your child. Bloodline is not your child. But, if you raise someone and you did the works of a family, man, then yeah, that's your child. You paying taxes, you take them to school, you discipline them, yeah, that's your child. Correct. Now, the only problem with that is Nolan's not representing the African American. So that's kind of like, okay, weird. Even if, he is, his mom is Filipino, and the man raised him from a pup, under that guidance, he should have been representing the African American. And you're like, well, how you know what he gonna do? Well, look who he hang around. He hang around all white people. Just go through my last video. I showed that, or go to his social media, Nolan Wells. And now don't get me wrong. If you stay around white people or go to a white school, they're gonna be your friends, right? I just grew up in the hood, so the majority of my friends, all of my friends was black. From the year I was born, blacks stayed around blacks, whites stayed around whites. Now you might have one white lady that stay in the hood, and you might have one black that stay in the burbs. That's it's different today. Everybody's everywhere. You got Mexicans here, you got white people walking their dogs now. In the hood that I used to, grew up in, I didn't, you didn't see a white face. It was very, very unusual. It's not unusual today. So, I think he was done wrong. And I'm not saying, well, he ain't black, I don't care. I don't want, wish bad on nobody. That just, he's still a him, he's still a child of God's, right? I just want to, what I'm saying is, everybody's going crazy based on he's little black. They saying that he's black. His mom know what's going on. She might not know what's going on. She might have been out there getting buckets, and she don't know who the daddy is, and she was pregnant, probably met Elmore, and they, whatever. But Elmore got a whole family. He got 5 kids elsewhere else. That's all black. And when you go on his mama page, you don't see, when you go on Elmore's mom's page, which I showed in my last video, you don't see Nolan anywhere, but you see Elmore Jr. with the mom, and family and all that. So I don't know, man, them just some things that you know, I put out there. Now, how far would this GoFundMe last? I guess she gonna run it up. If she can get 50 million out of it, she might go 50 million. But it just look bad on her as far as character, you know, and the fact that she's a nurse. She's a nurse. She has insurance. She could have paid for the funeral in the jump. But see, the new grift is once somebody passed away, start a GoFundMe. 2 days after he passed, the GoFundMe was started on July 6th for $11,000. Now we know the brick lady, as I mentioned in my other video, she got sued for doing GoFundMe scams. She did a few of them and got $46,000. She's banned from social media. You know, we know Shamon Jones, when her daughter and her baby daddy got unalive at the gas station last year. You know, she did the scam. I forgot what she raised. I think it was maybe 60 or something. I'm not sure. But she bought Benzes and she, you know, I did that. I cover that too. If you go on my YouTube or whatever, you'll go down, you'll see I cover that too. So, you know, it'd be about, you know, when something hit media and, you know, it go viral, that's when people start setting up the GoFundMes. Because in that case, it be GoFundMe all around the world. You know, the people's, you know, is paying now. You ain't really got to get no insurance. If that's the case, if, you know, something happened and you just started GoFundMe, you good for the rest of your life. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what it is, man. You know, I'm not hating nothing. I just wanna say it don't look good. It don't look good. You know, if you know, you just letting this money run up like you don't see it. Of course you see it. How we know you see it? You see it because the reason is you're changing the amount. Now, don't get me wrong. I think what's the name get the percentage of that? I'm not sure what the percentage, but GoFundMe, I think it's 10% of it. So out of 850,000, they'll get maybe 85,000. Still gonna make some good money. Remember that money is worth more in Filipino than it is in America. It's 4 times the amount, you know. But that don't mean like a loaf of bread over here might be $2. Over there, it might be $8, you know. But you know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm just chiming in, man. It just, you know, when I just checked it and I seen that, I'm like, I just started scratching my head like, man, what's really going on? But this whole funeral thing was a publicity stunt. You know, it was for the media, and she, you know, any chance a person get to go viral or to make themselves famous, they will do that. Even if, you know, instead of grieving, like, you know, I just want to grieve my son. I don't want no media attention. Now, she's going along with the ride, gang. So that's all I can say. She's definitely going along with the ride. So I don't know, man. That's my take on it, man. Y'all get up with me, man. I'm just reporting the news, man. That's what I do. You know, I get paid to do this. But I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I'm gonna holler at y'all, man. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share the video. My man, I'm out. What you think? Let me know in the comments. I'll holler back.